Welcome to Hacking Your Leadership. I'm Chris.
And I'm Lorenzo.
And welcome to this week's Thoughtful Thursday. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Hacking Your Leadership and leave us a review on whatever podcasting platform you use. For this episode, I want to talk about the response that we got to our Monday episode around why people are leaving workplaces because of toxic culture. And, you know, it's not often that we get almost a visceral response from our audience when we put an episode out, but we had a ton of people reach out and say, yep, that resonated with me. I am in a toxic culture, or I just left a toxic culture. And, we had people sending us things about, their stories, people sending us screenshots of conversations they had as they, basically quit over a text message conversation. And then we did some research ourselves on things we found online that showed similar things. And I want to talk about this, but I found two examples that I want to read to you that just like, if I didn't know these were real, like if someone's told me this, that this happened to them, my first question would be, did you make that up? Because that doesn't even sound real, right? And so I want to read you these two kind of text message conversations, or part of them, that happened. These are between employees who are quitting jobs and their boss. And so the first one, it shows a text message that starts from the boss that says, "Good evening, I was looking at the cameras from our shift today," weird, "and noticed that you were sitting on a stool for the majority of your shift. This is completely unacceptable behavior, and we'll be discussing it tomorrow before your shift." Okay, so we're texting employees when they're off to talk about what we're okay, just making sure we're on the same page here. Okay, perfect. And then the response from the employee is that they cleared it with another manager because they have two broken bones in their foot with a doctor's note submitted. And then they included that, aside from that, in terms of the productivity that is measured in terms of like units moved per hour, they were number one from their shift, even compared against all the people who weren't sitting down on a stool for the majority of their shift. And so the response is a little sarcastic, but it says, "So just to be clear, my impressive performance was overshadowed by the fact that I wasn't uncomfortable enough while doing it."
I like this person.
Yeah, right. And so the boss replies with, "I'm really not appreciating your attitude. You could have just said the first part was cleared with another lead instead of being disrespectful. This type of behavior isn't going to get you anywhere here." Oh, I love it. The doubling down part, that's perfect. And so that's when the person is actually says they quit. "I'm not concerned with going anywhere there. It's a toxic environment with ignorant people at the helm. I won't be in tomorrow or ever again." And here's the best part, when the boss replies with, "We don't need to rush into you leaving. Let's talk in the morning and we can sort this out." Needless to say, that didn't get sorted out. So that's the first one. And then the second one, it shows a boss sending a message to an employee. It says, "Hey, Brandon, we're short-staffed for the rest of the year because Sarah just quit without any warning." Okay, there's her flag right there. "We're really backed up, so I'm going to need you to come in during Thanksgiving this year. Don't be shocked if you have to come in during Christmas Eve and day too." The reply from the employee, "I already told you 3 weeks ago I need that off, and you agreed. I made plans. Now you're changing your mind. I won't be working Thanksgiving, and if you ask again, I won't be working for you at all anymore." Okay, maybe a little harsher than I would have replied for a first reply, but to me but the first message from the boss implies that maybe this isn't the first time that that something like this has gone down this path. And then the reply from the boss is, "We've had to set expectations with you multiple times this year. Coming in is the least you can do. Your paid time off request has been denied. I'm not asking you to come in. I'm telling you that you have to."
Ooh, yeah.
Wow. Does that work? Does that work for you?
Let's find out.
Yeah. What do we have behind door number one? "And I'm telling you that you have no worker at all now. I quit," with a thumbs up. Mm-hmm. And that's it. Okay. So the thing that is just the most kind of like awe-inspiring, that's the best way I can put it, is awe-inspiring, is this kind of doubling down. Like these people went all in. They flopped. Their hand is 2-7. They got nothing on the flop, but they're like, "You know what? I feel the river coming, man. I'm all in. All in. Yeah. And it clearly didn't work out for them. But it's this idea that when you want employees to do something for you, the best way to do it is to treat them poorly. That's number one. And number two, for the second one, the reason that they are short-staffed is because of this Sarah person quitting unexpectedly. To me, that implies that maybe she left because of the toxic environment, right?
Sure.
And so if I'm a leader and I'm in a situation where I'm short-staffed, which a lot of leaders are finding themselves in, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have created a toxic environment, but it's possible. And if the way you respond to that is to treat the people who are still there like crap, then that is probably why you are in the situation to begin with. And what's the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results, right? So I want to ask you about this. Have you ever seen something so egregious from somebody that it literally made you think, I can't believe what I'm reading right now? And this was kind of like the moment where you decided, you know what, this is the beginning of the end. I'm not going to be here anymore. But first, I want to give it up to a word from one of our sponsors. All right, Lorenzo. So have you ever seen something that was so egregious or been in a situation where it was the straw that broke the camel's back, or almost like a lifting of the veil for you to kind of like see, you know what, all the wondering, all the assuming of positive intent I've done, really, it was me just kind of giving somebody the benefit of the doubt that I shouldn't have. This is clearly what this is, which is a toxic environment.
Yes, and yes. I think all of it, and I think over time and experience, you're going to run into these things. I've had everything from experience being in toxic environments where it's come down to somebody kind of pointing it out, and or the decline of my own, kind of health and capability of getting something done. But driven by passion and wanting to do the right thing, but in a space that was not the right thing. I have experienced that. Nothing necessarily in writing, but just overall self-reflection, understanding, and having dialogue with people. Like I said, just kind of counsel people that I know and have them say, yeah, that's not good, and you should do something about that. And yeah, I have had people reach out to me and share things that they've been going through and messages they've received and asked for my advice or thoughts. And I was like, wow, like that's horrendous. That's horrible. Like that's not good. That's not okay. And let's talk through it. Let me give you my advice or my thoughts on this type of situation. And then the some environments and some industries and some spaces are so toxic that it just becomes a part of the culture and the environment. And so it's even hard sometimes to talk or to provide support for somebody that is in a industry that is just based upon top down, drive type of leadership where there's zero empathy, there's no dialogue, there's no connection, and it's just a place where you're just a number to get something done. And in those spaces, it's even harder because so much of it is probably built upon the toxicity of how they get how they're productive, that it could be difficult for people to make changes. So yeah, I've experienced all of it, and I've had to make personal choices in regards to people that I work with, people that I'll work for, and in organizations just in general. When you see things that you don't align with values and make you question a lot of things, then absolutely. But I think I think most people that have been in the kind of job industry, job work environment for 5 years or more, have probably seen it, experienced it, or can tell you a story about it.
Yeah, that's so true. I think that the ability to share with each other, which has largely been driven by social media is the tool with which to do it, but the idea that you're allowed to, or that you're not only that you're allowed to, but that you should, that when more light can be shown on the environments all over the place, it allows people to get more context to put their own environment in perspective and decide whether or not something is truly toxic or not. And that's always a good thing, because even though it causes a lot of growing pains and it causes hardship at the beginning, you come out the other side, maybe not you as a person, but we as a people come out the other side better, I think, for it. I think that when the dust settles at the end of all of this, when people aren't reacting to the Great Resignation or the pandemic, or when it's less of a reaction and more of a whatever the new norm is, just is what it is, I think that more people will be able to report a higher level of engagement and happiness and less toxic culture than they have in the past. I think there are leaders within organizations who will have to really take stock of the potential toxicity in their environment. So if the data suggests that people are leaving because of a toxic environment, well, who do you have in middle management, or is it you, that is creating that environment, and what needs to change? At some point, the buck stops with somebody who has to make the decision, you know what, we need to cut bait from these people who are creating this environment in order to be able to retain talent, or we need to, continue, double down and know that we're going to have really high turnover and really high attrition until the job market changes to where people don't have any choice, and then they're stuck here again. But that could take quite a while, to rebound from that, and a lot of companies will have gone out of business by then.
Absolutely. And with that, it brings us to the end of this episode. This is Hacking Your Leadership. I'm Lorenzo.
And I'm Chris.
And have a great day.